This video is to just get everyone comfortable with using the basic features of the IFP. I'm starting behind the IFP because we have a bag, and inside the bag we have a cloth. That is what we wipe the IFP screen down with. Remember, we do not spray the screen with anything wet. It will ruin the sensor. There's also a stylus in there to be used on the IFP, a remote, and if you move the bag, you'll notice this is where we power on the computer that runs the IFP. Now, sometimes your mouse or your keyboard might not be connected, and that's because maybe your little dongle that connects your mouse and keyboard to your IFP came loose, or maybe it is just out of the USB port a little bit. So make sure that this is plugged in to the back here. There we go. Now your mouse and your keyboard. Underneath your mouse is where you'll make sure it's turned on. Right here. When you slide it on, you'll see the light on the top of the mouse pop up. And on the top of your keyboard, so if I'm looking at my keyboard like this, in the top right corner of it, it has the same slider right here. And when we turn it on, we'll see the light right here come on for the keyboard. So you know they're both connected when the light's on. At the bottom of your IFPs, there's these wheel locks, so when you press them down with your shoe, you can lock your IFP into place and you don't have to worry about it moving around once you get into a good spot. That's on each of the wheels. At the top of your IFPs, there's a little webcam there. It's already connected, it's set up. There is a cover for it, so if you're not using it, you can put your lens cap cover on. It's right here. Your stylus for the IFP can be placed on either side of your IFP. There's a little magnet on the IFP, and on the right side of the IFP or the left side, there's a little diagram for them to stick on your IFP. If your button is not red, or if your button is red and not turned on yet, you'll press your button to turn your IFP on. On the bottom corner here is your plus sign to higher by pressing and holding your IFP, or your minus sign to press and hold to lower your IFP. Before even logging into your IFPs, you'll notice that you have an arrow, and it's on each side of your screen. So whatever side you're on, you'll see an arrow. If you press that arrow, it opens up a little menu. Our first selection is an annotator or marker or highlighter. It's automatically selected as the color red, so when you write, you'll see red. If you want to change the color, you'll just press that marker color and it will go through and it will change to different colors. If you would rather use a highlighter, we could select the second choice, which is our highlighter. It's a little thicker. And the same thing, if we touch that highlighter, we can change the color of it. By touching it again, we change it to another color. The brush tool, when you're pressing it, will sweep away all of our highlight or annotations. To move this back to the side where it was before, to kind of get it out of our way, we can just close it by pressing the X or push the arrow. I'm going to press the arrows on the side of the screen that were there one more time, and it's going to open up a couple other tools below it. The screen with the arrow selection will take a picture of your screen, so it's a screenshot. We then can enlarge our screenshot. Maybe we want to zoom in on something specific, like this dude on the bike. By pressing, I can press with two fingers and drag apart, or I can minimize or shrink by pressing with two fingers and dragging together back to the original screen size. You can do the same thing by pressing the plus sign. That will start to zoom in on the screen, and then we can push and move around what we want to zoom in on with our fingers or our stylus. And when we're done with this screenshot and we don't want to use it anymore, we can just press the X to get rid of it. And we're back to our normal settings here. Again, we're going to open up our settings by getting to clicking on our plus sign. The hammer and wrench tool will give us some other settings. So we can choose a spotlight, we can use our countdown or stopwatch, or those are the ones we'll mainly be using. Again, the spotlight tool gives us a spotlight. We can change the size of the spotlight by pressing with two fingers and expanding, or pressing with two fingers and moving close together to change the size of it. We can come down to our settings here at the bottom of the screen, and we can change the size of the spotlight just this way, another different way to change the size of it. Or we can change how dark the background is, the transparency of it, by sliding this slider and how bright our spotlight will stand out. When we're done with our spotlight tool, same thing, we'll press the X. We're back to our main page. I'll open up the settings again by pressing the arrow, the hammer and wrench. If you would like to do a countdown for your class, this is a great way. If you want 1 minute, that's fine, we can start it. The bell for this, or the ringer, is pretty loud when it's done, so don't be scared of that. You can reset it or pause it at any time, obviously by just pressing the buttons. I'm going to close it right now. Speaking of the sound, the option below the hammer and the wrench is our general settings. We can get to our general settings by the way we just showed you, pressing the arrow and the very bottom option here, or we can, above the words clear touch, slide up and our general settings come up this way. Either way, it's the same menu, same location. We can change our volume by sliding this right here. And we don't need the volume on these to be too loud because it's a very loud volume. You can change your brightness obviously on this side by sliding the volume here. The dot right now, there's a blue dot under HDMI 1. That's showing us that our HDMI 1 is what is connected or has a connection. If we had other connections, HDMI 2 or HDMI 3 might have a dot below them, but we don't in this example. Lastly, up here, you might see a code in the top corner of your screen. In another video, I'm going to explain what this code is, but just so you know, that's just so a computer, a student computer or a teacher computer could connect to it and you could project basically what's on your screen onto this big screen. If you would like to hide it, you can just press that code and you can say minimize and it will shrink the code down so that it's not maybe in your way. If this is ever in your way, you can just click on it and drag it and move it to a different part of your screen so it's not covering something that might be blocking. So this is the basics, the general settings. Now you're ready to log into the IFP and then you're ready to use it.